Hello and welcome to my tutorial. So in this series I will show you how to rig and prepare a skeleton inside 3D Studio Max. Now this will be super easy since most of the tutorials are for Blender and Maya and there's nothing really much out there for 3D Studio Max. So in the following series I will teach you how you can prepare a skeleton and some basic controllers such as helpers and prepare a very basic rig. And this is just like a crash course so you can start to animate. Now, without delaying it any further, the first thing you will need is a character model. Now, if you guys need this same character model that I'm using for this tutorial, you can find this inside the description. And you will notice that it has, in place of quads, it's triangulated. That's because I made this for a game. And so this is much more optimized for games as game models need to be triangulated, but that's not what we're here for. You guys are here for learning, but if I just delete these triangles, it will be quadified. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to use this. So I'll just stick to this model. And you guys can get this from the description as well. So let's get started. The very first thing when you start rigging is you need to know about the scale of your model. And you can locate it right here. For example, I'm going to come here to customize and unit setup. And the default units are generic units. I would recommend you to work with two units when preparing a rig. The very first one is generic unit. So generic units are not some actual units, they're just a unit inside 3D Studio Max, but even the documentation doesn't tell you the scale much. So you can notice here as I've drawn this box over here, and in terms of the height, it says 101 units. So a single unit equals 1 inch of real life scale. That's right. So these are the generic units are just basically inches. So for the height of my model approximately, to just get an estimation of that, if I move it right here in the center and to determine the height of my model, if I make this transparent and bring the height down, so my model is approximately around 85 to 86 inches, as you can see right around there. Let me just make this around 88 or so. Yeah, so he's approximately like between 85 and 88. So that's like 5 feet. No, actually, he's over 7 foot tall. Yeah. So yeah, 5 or 60 and 72. Yeah, he's actually over 8 feet tall or so. But you guys need to adjust the scale accordingly to that. You guys can use a reference box, or you can come here and find this thing called measuring tape. A measuring tape allows you to give, it actually gives you dimensions for both X, Y, Z. You can also make this floater, so when you're working inside your workspace and you want these coordinates, like for example, I'm just going to select this and it's going to tell me the X, Y, and Z. And the Z, it actually, as you notice, it's 85, or sorry, yeah, it was between 85 and 88, but it's saying 90. What's the reason? The reason is that it takes the most lower polygon of your model. It does not take into consideration from which spot to which you need to measure. As you can see, the highest point of my model is this right here. Like this vertex here will be the highest point and on the other side as well. So it's considering this to be the highest point. So it's going to take that. That means if you have a tower and it has like a pin on top of it, that would be like the top point for the height. So this is a little good thing, and it also tells you other things like its volume and its center of mass, but that's not what we're here for. Another alternate way to measure your model is to come here inside Tools and find the measuring distance thing. And how does this work is that you will actually need your viewport to be adjusted and then you click 2 points. For example, if I go here in the, sorry, that's not my, oh yeah, I have to rotate this into the front viewport. That was one of the things I was saving for the video. Whoops, my bad. But yeah, you guys kind of get the point. And again, this tutorial won't be really good, but I can guarantee you, like, it will be good by the time you finish it. So I am supposed to click this 1 point, and then let's say I want to measure it until here. I'm going to click that point. You will notice it's going to give me some distance and other things. Of course, it did not measure it very well. It's showing a lot of distance, like over 411 on the delta X and Y. That's because I clicked here and then it clicked back on the screen. So you guys get the idea. I need to like physically click on the model. So try to like click on 2 points onto your model. We will retry that. I'm going to come here, click on measure distance. This time I'm going to click on the shoe, and then I'm just going to click on this random polygon on his head. You guys can do it more accurately, but as I click it, okay, it's still the same. I don't know why it's messing up, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, we need to orient our model perfectly, which is like if I press this home button, you will notice that this is the front side. I imported that there for a reason. So I will just do this and turn on angle snap and rotate this on 90 degrees. And now if you guys are loading in a custom model, you guys need to make sure your pivot is positioned right here. Now, if I come here and let's say that my pivot was not there. Like I'm going to do effect pivot only and I do center to object. Like if your pivot was here or something. Now, this can later on like save you a lot of time. For example, like this was the default pivot. I rotated it here. Okay. But what now? But if I want to scale this, my pivot is located here. It will take that point as the center and do it even if like it's a uniform scale. That can be bad in terms of like when you're rigging and animating. Your pivot must be positioned on the 0, 0, 0 coordinates as well as your model, and your scale must be set to like 100%. We will do that. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just going to come right here. Okay, effect pivot only, and we kind of need to like reset the pivot. When you press that, it's going to be set to 0, 0, and 0 coordinates of your world center. Similarly, your model also must be 0, 0, 0, like exactly positioned on those coordinates. And once we have done this, you can see that now we need to scale our model. To scale my model, and in case you're wondering what I've done here, I've simply pressed Alt and X to make it right there. Now I will just simply press these right buttons, like I will right click on these, I forgot what they're called, yeah, the spinners, and it will position them right here. So we will determine how tall we want our character to be, so I will make my box that size accordingly. You guys can ignore the length and the width. You can make it really thin too, to be able to see the model clearly, but just to know like we're covering the model, I'm gonna keep it a little bit like that. So like our model is encased. I'm gonna leave the arms out. Those does not, it doesn't really matter. Now, if your arms are in a T pose, that's much better, but this A pose is okay. But remember, try to model them in a T pose because that's much better to adjust it later on, but this is okay too. The legs are okay as well. Okay, without wasting more time, I know I'm making this tutorial for the first time, so I suck. I apologize for that. Okay, so we will determine the height. As I told you, 1 feet equals 12 inches, and we will be using generic units. But in case you guys don't like the generic units, you guys can also use inches only. Unfortunately, or centimeters, but I would recommend just using that. And no, it does not let you, yeah, you can use decimal inches, okay? But it's basically the same thing. But if it's easier for you to understand the units that way, just set them to inches. That way you will get like a better description. Like it will actually show you the inches. Like if I said this, you will see that it kind of adds that inch sign right next to them. Okay, so we want our model to be around, let's say 6 feet tall. So it's around going to be 72. I'm going to make my box 72 and it's right there. But 6 feet tall is a bit too big for the shape of this model. So I'm going to bring him a bit down. So 72. So yeah. Let's make him 5 feet 9, so I'm gonna type in 6'9" or 68. Okay, so he's like 5'8" or something. Yeah, he's 5'8". Okay, that will be fine for this model. Again, it totally depends on you what you want to do. Now I'm gonna come here and choose scale. Right here, you can press E, and if I hold it, you will notice that there is a thing called uniform scale. Now, with uniform scale, it's set to 0, 0, 0. My model is also on 0, 0, 0 coordinates. If I come here, you will notice it's exactly on 0, 0, 0. Okay, now I will just come here and scale it down until he reaches that top tip of the box. So you can also switch over to the front view and then hit Z on your keyboard or just press that button right there. We want him to be like approximately right there. So it matches there, and hold on a second. Okay, yeah, he's approximately there, like approximately 5'8". Not exactly, but yeah, he's there now. So with this done, you can delete the reference box. But we have scaled our model. If I choose this, you will notice he's 77% instead of 100. And he's an editable mesh. Even if you have an editable poly, it does not matter. There's a couple of skinning bugs inside the version of 3D Studio Max I'm using. So for that reason, I'm going to use editable mesh, as it can make the UVs, or no, I actually don't need that. I'll just convert that to a poly. So I'm going to come here and reset X form. What it does is, as you can see, it resets the coordinates you are in to 0. Like it's here, this will, like, it will reset the scale to 100%. I will come here to utilities and press this, reset selected. Okay, and you will notice it's 100%. Or you can alternatively come here and type here X form, and it's the very last modifier. You can add that, and it's already added here. Now you can right click here and choose collapse all, or you can just, with your model still selected, you can come here and come to collapse. Now you can actually make it to modifier stack result. What it does here is the same thing, like right clicking and pressing collapse all. Or if you just want it to be an editable mesh, choose that. This is usually for booleans and stuff, it's not really used, but still I'm just going to press collapse selected. And yeah, it just takes that and collapses it, like combines all of them and gives you a single result. It's same as merging layers. Okay, so now our model is, you will notice it's not 77% or so. That means the new scale I change, you see that 191, like, it takes that and makes this scale the 100% default. Okay, with this done, I'm going to enter perspective mode again. So our model is ready now. We have set the pivot. And another thing you need to ensure is that your model is modeled perfectly for geometry, like, not geometry, sorry, for animation. Like the modeler and the rigger and the animator, they have to like consult each other to determine like what kind of a model they're making and all. So make sure like it's posed properly, and this model is game ready. I've used it in games before. So yeah, this is like perfectly there. So you guys really don't have to worry about this. This is how you prepare your model. Now in the next video, we will start with the bone placement, how to place the bones and get started.